NDP being department relationship for them. So, and there's a clause in where they want us to sign up to unlimited. If they challenge, so they've got loads of clauses in that. There's no incentive not to. If they do it, it's very well. The other side of the table. Slightly difficult. Sites changing things with emails.
What I will do is I will just
Exactly. So I think they're finding. I think they're finding South Gloss. They could be doing more in South Gloss. This is about and then stuff in the right.
just about.
You mean the one when I was online?
First of all, welcome everybody. It's really lovely to see you here today at this extraordinary meeting of the West of England Combined Authority. Thank you for everyone coming today and also those watching online for joining us. I'm Dan Norris, the Mayor of the West of England, and I'm just quickly like to introduce my committee colleagues, please. To that end is Toby Savage, who's leader of South Gloucestershire Council. And then we've got, welcome Toby, and then we've got Tim Ball, of course, who's representing Kevin Guy today for Bath and North East Somerset Council. Welcome to you, Tim. And Marvin Rees, of course, Mayor of Bristol, here today with us, and welcome Marvin, we're glad you're here. And of course, we've got Richard Bonner, an omnipresent face of these meetings from the Local Enterprise Partnership, who is a non-voting member of the committee. And can I particularly welcome Brenda today, because Brenda Massey is attending on behalf of the Chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, Winston Duguid. Thank you very much, Brenda, for doing that. It's lovely to see you. So before we move on to the main agenda items, I'd like to mention that some members of the public are joining this meeting to present their statements, and I can see some of them now. And just to note, please, that all the statements received have been circulated and read by the committee members, and they're also available to view on the Combined Authority website. Okay, item 2 then, please. Apologies for absence. We've heard that we've got apologies from Winston Duguid, is that correct? Just to be absolutely clear, and from Kevin Guy, of course, as well. Are there any other apologies? I assume not. Okay, thank you very much. Next, item 3, declarations of interest. Do members have any interest to declare, please?
Just to say that up here, this is working on projects in this.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Richard. Appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
So, just to declare that I, for 10 years, was the Exec Director for Finance and Corporate Services for Homes England. Obviously, there's papers on here today about Homes England.
Thank you, Richard, for declaring that as well. Okay, item 4 is Chair's announcements. I have no announcements to make at this moment. Item 5 is items from the public. This item is for up to 30 minutes in total duration. And please note that as this is an extraordinary meeting, only questions and statements relating to the agenda items today have been permitted. Also, in terms of questions, there are 2 questions that have come from David Regwell, which were previously submitted for this meeting, and these have been circulated. Written answers will be sent to David as soon as possible and will be published on the West of England Combined Authority website along with the agenda papers. And if David is tuned in or watching later on, I hope you're getting better, David. Right, we've received 4 statements on topics of the report. As I mentioned earlier, we've made arrangements. Welcome, do come on in. We've made arrangements for some members of the public to join this meeting to present their statements where they have requested to do this. Up to 3 minutes per statement will be permitted today, and I'd be grateful if the individuals concerned could please summarise the points they wish to make, as we have read all the statements, which are also published on the West of England Combined Authority website. And when you're speaking, one of my officers will let you know when you're getting near to the end, about 30 seconds to go, something like that, just to help you. So don't be surprised by that, please. Okay, now, the first person on the list of speakers in order of receipt is David Regwell. And I understand that Christine Biggs is Christine. Hello, Christine, of course you are. You're going to be reading out David's statement, so please could you do that? Thank you very much.
Doing the sound system just needs to.
Okay, so if we just pause for a moment while they sort that microphone out, that'd be really helpful. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Is this working now? Okay. Brilliant. So I'm speaking on behalf of David Regwell. As you know, David is very deeply involved with all detail and aspects of public transport. And I'd just like to set this in the context of Temple Meads. So David's obviously concerned with the trains, but his really big thing is the buses. Just to say, this morning I had to go to a meeting in Fish Ponds from where I live over in West Bristol. I did not take my car. I took the train, Stapleton Road, got out, got a bus, number 48, job done. So the point is, Temple Meads should just be the beginning here. Temple Meads is a brilliant idea to actually put people living in the city, shopping, and the place of work. But there are going to be people wanting to come into Bristol with a clean air zone coming. We don't want people to come drive to near Temple Meads and park their car here. That would just destroy air quality. So the idea is to increase the offering of both buses and trains into the centre of Bristol, so people don't have to drive in. David's very worried about the various bus cuts that are coming up. We understand that although there are bus cuts coming up. We understand this is for the government stopping the COVID funding. We know that WECA have got socially necessary funding, but really it's an appeal to the local authorities now to dig deeper for the transport levy, because it's becoming apparent that people really need these services. Trying to withdraw them has resulted in a huge outcry from people who rely on these to get to work and to school. So I really, if WECA could put some energy into keeping the bus network and upgrading it to more frequent, subsidising cheaper travel. Thank you very much for the cheaper fares, that's wonderful. But individual routes that David's very worried about, number 5, for example, let's try and respond to people, the public, otherwise they'll come, they'll be presenting their petitions. If they're not listened to, they'll just give up. They won't give up in the sense of trying again, but they will think that WECA don't listen. And you've got to make it really clear that WECA do listen, West of England Combined Authority. But the point about Temple Meads is that it was going to be where the arena was, so let's put some energy into phase 2, Metro West phase 2, to a good rail provision up at Filton. As we know, Whitehill are very keen to have a really good railway station there, and our Fosborough, if I can put a plea in for Pilning Park and Ride, because people can then park their cars at Pilning, get the train into Temple Meads, which is where it's going to be at. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine, for reading out and commenting for David Redwell today. And it was lovely to hear you talk about a bus service and a train service that went well. That's not an experience I've been hearing about lately. Okay, the next person to speak, please, is Ian Becky. Have I got that right? Is Ian here, first of all? No, Ian not here. Okay. In that case, can I go to Robbie Bentley? Robbie? Bentley. Sorry, Robbie.
With permission, Chair, I'd like to integrate this with Brendan Taylor's speech on behalf of Bristol Disability Equality Forum. The issue I'm facing as a disabled person myself is relating both to the accessibility around the proposed Temple Meads Quarter development, and the development of Temple Meads railway station needs to be consistent with what is actually happening in other major European cities where combined transport plans, and especially with the fairly recent announcement still that Bristol may be receiving funding in respect of an underground railway service. We do need to start thinking about what we're going to actually do if we're going to realise that ambition and vision for the greater region. Bristol Temple Meads needs to have better public transport, and we need to have a broader conversation as part of the consultation on which will have to happen as a part of any redevelopment of major transport infrastructure in this country under the Transport and Works Act powers. And I propose, as I stated in my message to this hearing today, that Bristol needs to have that conversation, and there is no more apt time than when we're facing such severe cuts as to what we want to actually do to make Bristol appear an attractive and forward-thinking city. which is what I believe we should all be looking forward to, not just as a city, but also as a city region, thinking about people who live in the outlying districts, as well as within the inner city areas, such as where I live in St. Paul's. And we need to be thinking about how we can actually engage people. As Christina rightly pointed out, we have an opportunity here to actually redesign how people think of our region and our city. And we need to do this now so that people can actually continue to see that Bristol is an attractive and forward-thinking place which can continue to attract people and investment into this region, and which can continue to provide people with a decent standard of living, whilst they're also being sure that we're not actually causing them any harm by bringing them into our city, by increasing things like private car usage or private vehicle or usage on motor vehicles. As Christina also said, we need to ensure that the strategy we put forward from here today is one that is actually going to work for the wider region. I've done consultations in the past of how many people do not have a direct service in Bristol, and I estimate personally that there is roughly 22% of the people who do not have access as to meaningful railway provision within this region. We need to do something about that. Okay, if we want to achieve our clean air targets, thank you. If we want to meet our clean air targets as under the Climate Change Act and subsequent acts, we need to be thinking about how we do this. And we need to have Bristol Temple Meads as the transport hub that Brunel would have wanted to actually see. Thank you very much.
Robbie, appreciate that. That was very clear. Thank you. Okay, is Brendan Taylor here, please? No, he's not. You're going to do Brendan. Yes, that's right, you are. Okay, you're on again. Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you, Chair. Bristol Disability Equality Forum wishes to express its desire to have a forward-thinking and accessible transport plan and development for Temple Meads, so that the proposal of three new railway station entrances for this area is actually put forward in the detailed planning documents for Bristol Temple Meads to be redeveloped. There are too many buildings and too much inaccessible public transport infrastructure in this city, and it is causing people all to be able to not use the public transport because their disabilities prevent them from being able to access it in a meaningful way. We need to start thinking about how we actually get those people out of their mobility vehicles and other vehicles and onto public transport. We also need to think about our affordability across the wider region, but as has recently been done, I do believe that Bristol is now taking in the right lead in terms of making it more affordable for people, but it's also a problem that Bristol needs to consider and WECA whether or not we want to include public transport or for disabled people on a more inclusive basis, many of whom are out of work and on low incomes. Bristol Disability Equality Forum in particular wants to raise the following points. Just give me a moment. No, I think he just got sacked, actually. One moment. Okay. 178 withdrawal is a particular concern for people now isolated. We are very concerned about this. Bath Bar Bus and Coach Station to Bathampton Service 11, Service 12 and Service 20 via RUH. Services D through Froome to Beckington and Road, Norton St Phillips, Bath Bus and Coach Station. Service 5, Bristol City Centre, St Paul, St Werburgh's, Stapleton, Broomhill and Fish Ponds to Downend, and has only been partly replaced by Service 47. There is now a very substantial gap with respect to permanent provision of these services. Yate Bus Station, Puckle Westerly, Emerson Green, Downend and Albury Court also has a problem. Fish Ponds, I'm proposing that Fish Ponds on to Bristol bus station should go via St Werburgh's as well. Okay, I apologise. I think we've got the picture.
Really appreciate that. Okay, I don't think there are any other statements today. Am I correct? Speak up now, unless I've got that wrong. Okay, in that case, the next item is item 6, and that's comments from the chair of the Local Enterprise Partnership Board. Richard Bonner, could you please take this opportunity?
Well, first of all, actually, it's
to make a really big decision around the opportunity that exists. And as you look out of the window, you can see the scaffolding up on the station. You can just see how the investment by Network Rail is going to start to transform the way in which we access our way around the station. And I think it's fair to say that this has been a long journey, and over the last several years it's been very pleasing to see the work of Bristol City Council, the Combined Authority, Homes England, Network Rail, and how they brought forward the proposals to get to the point where now we're going to see some really significant investment activity taking place. And I think it's right to record that the LEP are proud of their involvement over many years in helping to bring forward to the stage where we are at now. So therefore the LEP board are very pleased to see the Bristol Temple Quarter Regeneration Programme. As the report notes, this is one of the largest and ambitious regeneration programmes, not just in this country but around Europe. And it will bring a very dramatic improvement to the way Temple Mead Station works, and it will help to improve our connectivity both within the region and more widely. And I think just to summarise, this investment unlocks significant quantum of new homes in Bristol, which are very much needed. It helps us to deliver enhanced facilities for customers around and travellers around the commercial and retail spaces, and also delivers many high quality public spaces right here in the heart of the city. And it also unlocks many of the changes that need to take place around the way in which we travel from an active perspective as well. And all of those things help us to achieve our ambitious net zero target ambitions. And I think that's a really critical part of what we're seeking to deliver. More widely in the business case for the other activities reported in the report, we just particularly wanted to flag how important it is that we continue with the Hydrogen Sustainable Transport Economy Accelerator. It's quite a mouthful, but we know that hydrogen is and the transition in our energy networks is a vital part of how the region will thrive. And actually we have a very good network across our city region of organisations who will benefit from that investment. And I think it's just important to note that we have a couple of really strong parts of that. So if you look to the work that Airbus are doing with their Zero Emission Development Centre and GKN's Aerospace H2 Gear project, those are two parts of our industrial economy that are going to completely thrive from this investment, and it's a critical part of how we will continue to be at the forefront in transitioning our economy and our community to a net zero economy. And so it's vital that we make that investment today. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay, the next item, item 7, is comments from the chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and this is where Brenda Massey will be speaking for us. Winston is a hard act to follow, but Brenda, you are a brilliant person to take over from Winston today. Thank you.
Winston's gone off on holiday, so he's probably enjoying it. Right, these are the comments from the informal meeting of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee held on the 7th of October this year. Item 8, Bristol Temple Quarter. The Overview and Scrutiny Committee broadly welcomed the recommendations, but made the following points. It was noted that BCC, that's Bristol City Council, scrutiny members had visited the site, had thoroughly scrutinised the project and broadly welcomed the proposals. There was nervousness about inflationary pressures for the scheme. The need to consult businesses properly and the protection of employment in the context of such a large regeneration project. The need to safeguard accessibility of the riverside and the opportunity to feed into the finer details of the regeneration project needed to exist. Officers confirmed that the majority of the land was in freehold with public authority ownership. The issue of investment zones was discussed and further details from Whitehall were awaited. The officer outlined that flood defence mitigation was a key part of the plan and fitted into the broader Bristol Defence Scheme strategy. The officer explained that in relation to housing, that the plan was for around 40% affordable housing, of which an element would be social housing. It was also planned that housing provided would be a mix of family housing, mixture of tenure and size of housing of high quality. Then on to item 9, which was the investment fund, part A, HSTEA. It was clarified that the full business case had already been approved for this project. The scheme was welcomed by the committee and seen as very important as a development for the region, particularly some of the major employers in the region who will be active participants in the use of green hydrogen. Part B, the arena package. Frustrations were raised in respect to the delays to the station's opening. Members did ask the Metro Mayor to use his best endeavours in bringing out on-side local MPs and others in exerting pressure on Network Rail. Officers confirmed that there were package measures supporting public transport. The committee were keen that ongoing dialogue existed with the developer around inflation risks and the potential for these to be shared, especially given the effect of inflation on fixed Section 106 contribution negotiated some years ago. Otherwise, the report was very positively received by the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Brenda. Okay, now we move to item 8, one of the key reports before us today about the Bristol Temple Quarter. And obviously, I'm delighted, along with many of you, that we've finally unblocked the funding back in April so that the West of England Combined Authority could get this 94.7 million, if I've got that right, of funding. This is clearly important to Bristol and the wider West of England. And as one of the largest regeneration schemes in Europe, as Richard referred to in his comments, it's very important to the country as well. It's not just a regional or Bristol thing, it's a national thing too. That £94.7 million of funding will see the following things: 3 new entrances to the station in the north, south and east, at Temple Meads, of course, create a world-class gateway to the West of England that Brunel would be proud of, I believe, which is important. 3, to deliver 2,000 new homes, or 2,500 new homes, 2,200 new jobs, and almost 50,000 metres, square metres that is, of commercial floor space, which is important too, to ensure that we create that vital economic growth that many of us are talking about and believe is important. And equally as important, this will also include high quality public spaces for the most valuable asset we have, which is our people, of course. We mustn't forget that at the end of the day, this is about human beings as well. I would like to move the recommendation as set out in the report. Can I call for a seconder, please? Is there a seconder? Thank you very much, Marvin. Right, Marvin, would you like to speak now or later to this, please? Great, thank you.
Thanks very much. And this is another step, and as you said, Richard, just how important it is. I was looking back from my notes. We had our first meeting to really pick this this opportunity and challenge up in September 2017, and I think it's an example of how a region, a city should work. We very early doors we had Homes England, we had Department for Transport, we had the university because of their interest in obviously with the new campus being developed. We had Combined Authority. We even pulled together Heritage because so often big regen projects can then fall foul late in the day because they haven't taken heritage into account, and that can be a blocker. So we had every body upstream, and it's as much as to say thank you to all those who have come and stayed the course meeting 4 times a year. There has been a kind of an interesting journey with national government. A number of times we had explicit commitments to giving us that £95 million. A number of times, even from people in 10 Downing Street, who were referring to this as one of the most exciting regeneration opportunities in Europe. Sometimes we fell foul of the politics of levelling up, but nonetheless, it's coming now, and just the significance of this is in line with the shifting of the kind of gravitational center, of the city. We need to develop this as the transport hub, as you mentioned there, Dan, about the new entrances opening up, which is important for our economic, inclusion as we go forward with the future. The number of homes immediately, you get about 2,500, 2,000 jobs, but the office space, as well. So obviously, it's going to be years rolling out. The full Temple Quarter regen opportunity is going to take years to roll itself out, but it's incredibly important. One thing just a couple of quick things I will say as well is that we've talked to the university about making sure that the work we do down here is an exemplar of inclusive economic development. What we don't want is billions of pounds slushing around the economy, leaving local people out, or with outside contractors coming in, hoovering up the contractors and then subcontracting to local people, local businesses. So one of our huge challenges that we have, and it's a huge opportunity, is to make sure that we get our local supply chain lined up. There's going to be lots of floors laid. There are going to be lots of windows fitted, lots of wires laid. We've got those skills in the city. So how we get that local multiplier working, how we work with the skills spend that we have with the Combined Authority to make sure that people know that they can go City of Bristol College or whatever the forum is, and there will be job opportunities at the other end, because there is nearly £1 billion just in the first instance coming in here now, is going to be incredibly important. So this is truly owned by the people of Bristol and the wider region. And picking up on your transport points earlier on, Robbie, as well, and yes. Christina, how we make sure that as we do develop this, that we future-proof it as the centre of a regional transport hub. Mass transit, including underground, has to be part of a city region that is growing in size, density, congestion, while needing to meet the challenges of a growing population in the face of a climate and ecological emergency. So future-proofing this region opportunity is equally important. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Marvin. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Tim, Toby? Oh, Tim. I think Tim was slightly ahead. Tim.
Yes, mate. Thank you very much. Not like add to what Marvin said, I do remember kicking around in Avon County Council days back in 95, 96. Bristol Development Company at the time failed to deliver at the time. That it is welcome. It's a long time waited for, and as Marvin said, we do need to properly make sure integrated transportation hubs are there. Transportation for people to move around properly, rather than just build and bring the transportation hubs in later. So very welcome, very, very long time coming. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Tim. And that's the BDC is not something I've heard for a while, those terms. So thanks for that blast from the past. Toby, you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I'd also like to support the recommendations today, and I'll just focus my comments just on the regional significance of this project, and particularly for other parts of the west of England. That I think that when we've got major opportunities to regenerate very significant brownfield sites in sustainable urban locations here, that by focusing our efforts around that, being able to deliver a vision that can meet people's expectations locally, that is what also helps the communities that surround the city as well. So those rural communities, those edge of city communities where greenbelt countryside is valued, rural communities and market towns, and the nature of those communities is valued by them. Actually, the more that we can focus our efforts on bringing forward opportunities such as this is to be welcomed. And I think we've got a really good track record in the west of England of how we are able to bring forward brownfield urban regeneration in partnership with many others. And we can also see what is going on the former Filton Airfield site to the north of the city. Again, a very large, very significant opportunity that, again, is the right thing to be doing economically, environmentally, and socially. And I think then, as we make significant progress on projects like this, we also need to be thinking long term about what's the next one. What's the next big brownfield urban regeneration opportunity that we should be thinking about as a region, so we can deliver similar benefits. And I think that's where the master plan work that the combined authority has funded within the UAs is important in throwing up those possible opportunities. And I think one that we need to look closely at is the opportunities around Bristol Parkway Station in terms of the brownfield regeneration opportunities there. But coming back to specifically this project, very pleased that we're in a position to support these recommendations today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Toby, and for the other leaders for their remarks. Obviously, a lot of people have been involved in securing getting us to this point today, and a lot of work was done before I was even Metro Mayor, of course. But I particularly like to thank some of my officers, because there've been an awful lot of legal works, financial work, and other associated transport work, just to name but three, that have been very important. So can I just thank you, Richard, Alistair, and Stephen Gerrard, who's not here, who's unfortunately ill today. But Stephen, thank you to you too. Okay, I'll now take each of these recommendations in turn, if I may, please. So recommendation 1, could those in favour please show now? Okay, that's carried unanimously. Recommendation 2, please. Those in favour please show. Okay, that's carried unanimously. Let's move on to recommendation 3 then. Those in favour please show. Okay, that's unanimous too. And recommendation 4, please show if you're in favour. Unanimously carried. Recommendation 5, those in favour please show now. Thank you very much. That's carried unanimously. And finally, recommendation 6, those in favour please show. That's carried unanimously too. Thank you very much indeed for that. Okay, item 9, investment fund. Now, I think we're on the 4th Chancellor, or will be on the 4th Chancellor this year, so we need to keep our eyes on doing things, even if there's chaos elsewhere. So look, there are 2 items under the investment fund here. Firstly, for a hydrogen sustainable transport economy accelerator, which I've had to read because I don't want to memorise that. But frankly, this is a great proposal from the University of Bath, which I was very pleased to be at the other day to speak to Ian White, their VC, and meet many of the staff there. Because this is key bit of science, and it's great that we are looking at hydrogen production, storage, and research facility, making sure that we are a leader, not just in the UK, but around the world. And this will obviously help the West of England region in using this cutting edge technology in a highly competitive field. But I'm also, just acutely aware that there's lots of competition within the UK too, and I'm determined that we are the ones that are ahead of everybody else. So I'm really pleased that this proposal is coming forward. And then I'm also really pleased to support the ARENA infrastructure package to deliver transport connectivity needed to move people around sustainably. So I won't say any more than that, because I think these are self-evident truths, I hope. I'd like to move the recommendation, therefore, as set out in the report. Is there a seconder, please? Toby, thank you. Thank you for seconding. Would you like to speak, Toby?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So shall I just speak on the first recommendation? I'll just speak to the first recommendation, which is the HSTEA. And I was very pleased this morning to visit colleagues at IAPS in Emerson's Green with our local MP, Chris Skidmore. And it's great to see IAPS going from strength to strength, because Chris had a significant role right at the start of when IAPS was first being thought about as a concept, in lobbying for the government funding needed to get that built. And then as the science minister, he was then able to lay the foundation plaque for IAPS when it was under construction. And so it was great to be able to visit them this morning to understand the importance and to welcome this latest project at IAPS. So this will create a new and unique green hydrogen production, storage and research facility within the IAPS building, which is set within the West of England's premium science park, and it's a UK first. It's the first liquid hydrogen and cryogenic cooling capability that will help us to deliver the power demands of zero emissions advanced propulsion technologies. Over 250 new jobs, safeguarding over around 50, and then adding over £30 million to our regional economy each year. And I think it's important to see IAPS as another jewel in the crown of innovation and technology that we have across the region. So IAPS, the National Composite Centre, the Bristol Robotics Lab, then coming across into the exciting projects that Airbus, GKN and Rolls-Royce are doing to make sure that, as highly skilled engineering powerhouses, they're able to continue to be at the forefront of the innovation that we need to see in those industries, so we can continue to be global leaders, and they can continue to be significant employers locally and help us in that transition to net zero. I did just want to raise just a query, Chair. It was just in the Scrutiny Committee's comments. It was just on the first bullet point. It was talking about the full business case had already been approved for this project. Just wanted, not sure if, obviously, for officers who were within that discussion, why that might be said when I thought the recommendation here before us today is to approve the full business case.
Yes, I'm perhaps I clarify. I think that's an error in the scrutiny comment, and of course the full business case decision is what's before this committee today for approval. So it's not been approved yet. This is the full business case decision.
Okay. That's fine, thank you. I wondered if scrutiny maybe were thinking of the outline business case, and therefore the full business case is before us today. But that was just just want to clarify that. But otherwise, Chair, yeah, very much welcome the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby, and thank you for helping us clarify that, because that was an important point to be clear about. Marvin, would you like to speak to this? Or? Thanks, Marvin. Tim.
Yes, I'll be brief as well. Toby's covered the majority of it. It's absolutely essential we get hydrogen production going as fast as we possibly can. It's the only way we reach net zero. A little bit of kickback, save having fracking anywhere.
Well, of course, Tim, there's interesting things happening with buses as well in Bath, reference hydrogen. So there's lots of other things spinning off from this too, and linked to this too. Okay, in that case, I'll take each of the recommendations that we've got before us in turn. Recommendation 1, all those in favour, please show now. That's carried unanimously. And recommendation 2, again, those in favour, please show now. Sorry, Toby?
Possible, Chair, yes, yeah, because just if I can focus my comments on each recommendation at a time. So on the arena infrastructure package, again, welcome the fact that we're able to approve this today. Colleagues will recall the discussion that we had at our previous Combined Authority Committee meeting. So whilst disappointed we couldn't get this over the line last month. Pleased that we're able in a position to approve this today. And again, just to emphasise the importance of that point of a consistent approach to how we assess schemes and how we bring them forward for decision making. Colleagues will know that when complete, the Brabazon Arena will be the third largest arena in the UK, of not just enormous regional significance, but national significance as well, that will deliver benefits across the west of England and beyond. Again, a project that many colleagues within this room and outside this room have been instrumental in bringing forward. Now, it is important that as we bring forward such a significant new assets to the region, that people are able to access in and out in as sustainable a mode as possible. And that is to avoid and to try to minimise the impact on the communities that already exist around the arena. And so the full business case here seeks to access investment funding that can be added to developer funding and other funding sources already secure, to ensure that we can invest over £10 million in walking and cycling improvements, traffic management improvements. That then complements the investments that are already in train, and forgive the pun, with Metro West Phase 2 and Metro Bus, and the works that have been going on and indeed coming to a conclusion with the Cribs Patchway Metro Bus extension. The no, that's fine, Chair. Sorry, I was about to repeat points I'd already made. So that's all my comments. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Toby. Appreciate that. Okay. Anyone else like to speak, please? Marvin.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I mean, I love talking about the arena because it was a big decision for the middle, but it was the right decision, both financially for us as a local authority, best use of our assets, and in terms of sustainability. And now what we have coming down the track is an arena that promises to be one of the most sustainable arenas, not just in the UK or Europe, but in the world, with what YTL are doing this, not least in the repurposing of an existing building, which means that you don't have to generate demand for new concrete and steel, two of the filthiest industries on the planet. So in its very heart, that sustainability's in there. But obviously a big part of any arena to recognise, it's not just a local asset, it's a regional and a national asset, and this will obviously be an international asset, which is one of the kind of broken frameworks for looking at the previous incarnation of arena offer, as though it was for a Bristol audience only. No, it's regional, it's national, it's international. And so making sure that those transport connections are in place, allowing people to get in and get out, are absolutely essential to its sustainability, to its viability, and its ability to attract global acts as well. So really welcome, this new stage. I'm just casting my mind back to actually, I suppose, the first taste of what it could be was when we had Queen. Did I see you bobbing your head to Brian May, Toby? There?
Next to you, yeah.
But put up their whole set in Queen, and you just got a sense of just what an asset this is, that this is the place they wanted to come and practice, because it was the only place they could find that was big enough to take their set and a number of trucks that they bring to their set as well. So positive day today.
Fantastic. Do you want to speak? Okay, thank you very much indeed. All right, in that case, let's go to recommendation 2. All those in favour, please show. Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much indeed. Just before we close the meeting, I just want to say, look, what's very key to everything that we are all doing at the moment is delivery. We really do have to move as quickly as we can now on things. Inflation is unbelievably high and difficult. Any delay literally costs us millions month by month as we lose purchasing power. and we can't allow that to happen. So it's really great that we've been able to get on with these things today, which is fantastic. Thank you very much for all those who've attended, all those watching, and I declare the meeting closed. Oh, good point. It's not on my list. Is there any other business that anyone wishes to raise? I suspect Marvin might have some. I don't know. Marvin.
There's just a few things that I just wanted to raise because we're not. When's our next meeting? It's in the new year. It's quite some time.
January.
Yeah, so we don't want to, and in the name of delivery and pace, and there's two things. One is, the mass transit. So we need to come to some sort of what we're doing with that. We need to
All right, thank you very much indeed, Marvin. I think many of us would almost entirely agree with what you're saying. We do need to be on top of that. All I say is perhaps you and I can have a meeting in any event, so I'll call you in a moment, Tim, in any event, so we can see what we can do to move that forward before January, because I do agree we need to crack on. Tim.
Yes, Marvin's points are very poignant. If you wait till January, you start running into South Gloucester and Baines period by the time you launch this. So it's very important discussions go as fast as you possibly can and get agreement across the piece. So I'm very much aware of that period coming in probably in March next year, which affects two of the authorities in the area. So it's essential you move pretty quickly.
Okay, Tim, just to be clear, our lawyer has advised very strongly, for obvious reasons, we've checked this out, but the PERDA doesn't impact on our delivery, and it can't if you think about it, because we have so many elections during this cycle, so we cannot allow that to slow us up for all the reasons you'll perfectly understand. But thank you.
All it's looking at is a consultation in those two constituency areas to ensure you can actually do it legally and properly.
Yeah, okay, we'll be on to that to make sure it's all crystal. Okay, thank you very much. In that case, sorry, Toby, please come in.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. If I could just also support Marvin's point there around the importance of us coming together and not waiting until the end of January for our next committee meeting. I think there are important updates that we should be bringing forward for public scrutiny. Obviously, we had a really positive meeting last week on Metro West Phase 2. Obviously recognise the importance of making sure that we join up.
Can you say that again, Toby, for the media? I'd like them to know that we have positive meetings.
we have positive meetings. Don't believe everything you read in the media. So whilst I continue to make enemies in the comments, I'm now making. So in terms of Metro West Phase 2, I think the importance of continuing to ensure that we align the opening of the arena with the delivery of the stations, the rail services, to ensure that we are joined up and we are seamless in how we line projects up so that they work from day one. So we had that positive meeting last week, one of a number, and we need to continue to keep our foot on the pedal to make sure that we can give confidence to our communities that these things are moving on. And the risk with a meeting at the end of the end of January is the vacuum that provides for the public.
Thank you, Toby. And I think we have got some kind of meeting next month, actually, so we can take that opportunity to get some of these things discussed. Marvin, we will get you that Eurovision sooner or later. We're going to eventually get there, but we do need a railway service that meets our aspirations. Yeah. Well, no, I am. No. For the next one, we don't give up, Marvin. We've got a future plan and a vision. Okay, and just for those who are interested, it's Jeremy Hunt, is it? It's the new Chancellor, is that right? Okay, Jeremy Hunt has been made the new Chancellor for those who are interested. We have to keep up on these things, Marvin, as you appreciate. There's so much change. It's only us who are providing continuity these days. So there you are. Okay, thank you, everybody. Really great to see you all. Thanks for those watching online too. This meeting is now closed. Thank you.